Hello, dear soul, it's Adele here. One of the most powerful things we can do in life is to become more conscious of the choices we make every day. So much of what we do daily happens on autopilot. We wake up, prepare our meals, go to work, buy groceries, and use countless everyday plastic-based products without ever stopping to ask where they came from, what they are made of, or what they may be doing to our bodies after years of regular use, and what happens to them after we've finished using them. My own journey into this topic began recently after watching the Netflix documentary The Plastic Detox, which follows couples reducing everyday plastic exposure to see whether it might improve their chances of having a baby. That was when I fell down the rabbit hole into the world of plastics. As I looked around my home, I suddenly realized just how ubiquitous plastic had become. It is in our kitchens, our workplaces, our supermarkets, our hospitals, and even the clothes we wear. Some vitamins and medications also come in plastic packaging, and so do many of the technologies we rely on, along with countless other everyday products that most of us use without giving them a second thought. The word ubiquitous simply means present everywhere, and I honestly can't think of a better word to describe plastic. Its use has become so normalized that we encounter it in places most of us would never think to look. It has become so deeply woven into modern life that it's easy to overlook just how dependent we have become on it. Its affordability, durability, and versatility have transformed industries ranging from food packaging and healthcare to construction, transportation, and consumer electronics, bringing enormous benefits that have improved the lives of billions of people around the world. Yet the very qualities that have made plastic so useful have also created one of the greatest environmental challenges of our time. Unlike natural materials that eventually return to the earth, most plastics persist in the environment for decades or even centuries, gradually breaking down into smaller and smaller pieces known as microplastics. These tiny particles have now been detected in the deepest parts of our oceans, remote polar regions, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, and, more recently, even within the human body. Naturally, this raises an important question. Should microplastics be considered a genuine public health concern, or has the issue been exaggerated? In this video, we will explore what current scientific evidence tells us, distinguish between what researchers know and what they are still investigating, and discuss practical ways to reduce our exposure without fear, guilt, or overwhelm. I hope that by the end of this video, you will feel better informed and more empowered to make thoughtful choices for your own health, the health of your loved ones, and the well-being of our planet. Before we can understand why microplastics have become such an important topic in public health and environmental science, it helps to first understand what plastic actually is. Don't worry, I'm not about to take you back to a high school chemistry class. Instead, let me break it down in simple, clear terms. Most plastics are made from crude oil or natural gas, both of which are fossil fuels that have formed deep beneath the Earth's surface over millions of years. Through manufacturing, these raw materials are transformed into the countless plastic products we use every day. Although they come in different colors, shapes, and sizes, they all share one important characteristic. They are designed to be incredibly durable. That durability is both plastic's greatest strength and its greatest weakness. It is one of the reasons plastics have become such a valuable material in modern society, but it's also the reason it has become such a significant environmental challenge. Unlike natural materials such as leaves, wood, or food scraps, which eventually decompose and return to nature, most conventional plastics break down extremely slowly. However, this does not mean plastic simply stays the same forever. Over time, sunlight, heat, wind, rain, and the constant wear and tear of the environment gradually weaken the material, causing it to become brittle and crack into smaller and smaller pieces. Instead of disappearing, plastic slowly fragments. Those tiny fragments are known as microplastics, and as they continue to break down, they can become even smaller particles called nanoplastics, which are invisible to the naked eye. This simple process explains why scientists are now finding plastic in places where we never expected it to be, from the deepest parts of our oceans to the air we breathe. In the next section, we are going to follow that journey and discover what actually happens to plastic after we throw it away. Now that we understand what plastic is and why it breaks down so slowly, the next question is, what actually happens after we throw it away? Once something disappears into the rubbish or recycling bin, it feels as though its story has come to an end. In reality, that is often where its journey begins. One of the biggest surprises for me while researching this topic was learning what actually happens to plastic waste here in Australia. I had simply assumed that if I separated my recycling properly, most of it would eventually become something useful again. However, according to recent Australian government data, Australia generates more than 3 million tons of plastic waste every year, yet only around 13 to 14% is successfully recycled. This means the overwhelming majority of discarded plastic is not recycled, but instead ends up in a landfill, or is otherwise not recovered through our current recycling system. Reading these figures made me pause and think, if even a country like Australia struggles to recycle the majority of its plastic waste, what does that mean for parts of the world with fewer resources, less recycling infrastructure, or rapidly growing populations? It certainly gives us something to reflect on. This does not mean recycling is pointless. It remains an important part of the solution, but many plastic products are simply not designed to be recycled efficiently. Soft plastics can interfere with recycling machinery. Many food packages combine different materials that are difficult to separate, and manufacturing new plastic often remains cheaper than recycling used plastic. That is why many experts now emphasize not only improving recycling, but also reducing unnecessary plastic use, redesigning products to be easier to recycle, and developing more circular approaches to how plastics are produced and used. And so, what happens to the plastic that is never recycled? Some remain in landfill for decades or even centuries, while some escape into the environment, eventually reaching our rivers and oceans. Researchers have observed plastic entangling marine animals such as sea turtles, seals, and sea lions, while plastic debris and microplastics have also been found in the digestive systems of many marine species. Plastic pollution has now been detected in environments ranging from remote mountain regions and polar ice to the deepest parts of the ocean, highlighting just how widely these materials can spread. For many years, the focus was understandably on the environmental impacts of plastic pollution. More recently, however, scientists have begun asking another important question. If these tiny plastic particles have become so widespread in our environment, could some of them also be finding their way into the human body? That is exactly what we will explore in the next section. There is also an interesting historical pattern that is difficult to ignore. The widespread use of plastics began to take off around the 1950s, and over the decades that followed, we also saw a growing burden of many non-communicable diseases. Of course, this does not prove that plastics caused that rise. Many aspects of our lifestyles and environments changed during the same period. But the overlap has given researchers another reason to ask important questions about the possible long-term health effects of our growing exposure to plastics. And so, if microplastics are now so widespread in our environment, what does this mean for our health? The short answer is that scientists are still trying to work that out. What we do know is that microplastics are entering the human body. They have already been detected in our blood, lungs, placenta, and breast milk. Research has also raised concerns about possible effects on inflammation, our hormones, gut health, fertility, pregnancy, and child health. However, finding microplastics in the body, or even finding links with certain health problems, does not prove that microplastics directly cause them. And proving this is incredibly difficult. It would be unethical to deliberately expose people to microplastics for decades to see whether they develop diseases. And because microplastics are now almost everywhere, it is also difficult to compare highly exposed people with those who have had little or no exposure. There is another concern too. Scientists are also studying the chemicals that can be released from plastic. These chemicals can move from plastic packaging into our food, particularly with heat, longer contact time, and fatty or oily foods. Some plastic chemicals, including bisphenol A, BPA, may disrupt the normal function of our hormones. And importantly, BPA-free does not necessarily mean free from other potentially concerning chemicals. Research has found that some BPA-free plastics can still release chemicals that mimic or interfere with the effects of estrogen. So, should microplastics be considered a public health concern? Based on the evidence available today, I believe the most balanced answer is yes. Human exposure is clearly happening, and there are legitimate reasons for concern. However, it's become clear to me that science has not yet proven that microplastics directly cause specific diseases in humans. Currently, the scientific evidence simply does not allow us to draw firm conclusions about their effects on human health. For me, that uncertainty is not a reason to ignore the issue. Rather, it is an invitation to make thoughtful, informed choices while the science continues to evolve. After all, many of the choices that help reduce unnecessary plastic exposure are also beneficial for the environment, often save money over time, and encourage a more intentional way of living. We do not need fear or absolute scientific certainty to motivate us, or to take better care of our health and our planet. Awareness is enough. And so, if reducing our reliance on plastics is a sensible step, where do we begin? Let's explore some simple, practical ways to reduce plastic in our daily lives without striving for perfection or becoming overwhelmed. If you're like me, you might already be looking around your home a little differently after watching this video. I've already started replacing many plastic items in my kitchen with glass, ceramic, or food grade, such as 304 or 316, stainless steel alternatives. But that was a personal choice based on what felt right for me. I've also decided to keep my large plastic containers for transporting goods from the market, then transfer everything into glass containers for storage at home. The good news is that reducing plastic exposure does not have to be overwhelming. From a public health perspective, not all sources of plastic exposure carry the same level of concern. That is why the most sensible approach is to prioritize the biggest sources of exposure, rather than trying to eliminate every piece of plastic at once. Once you understand where your greatest sources of exposure are likely to be, it becomes much easier to know where to begin. Let's focus first on the changes that are likely to have the biggest impact, then gradually work your way down the list over time. Progress, not perfection, is what we're aiming for. I would start with anything that comes into direct contact with your food and drinking water, particularly if it is exposed to heat, repeated wear and tear, or frequent daily use. If you often buy takeaway food or order food deliveries, your meals may arrive steaming hot in thin, single-use plastic containers. While not every takeaway container poses the same level of risk, try to minimize this exposure whenever practical by enjoying your meal at the restaurant or bringing your own reusable glass container for takeaway orders. For foods that unavoidably come packaged in plastic, you can reduce the length of contact by transferring them into glass containers once you get home. Similarly, if you use a plastic water filter jug, consider transferring the filtered water into a glass jug rather than leaving it in plastic for hours before drinking. The less time our food and water spend in contact with plastic, the less opportunity there is for particles or chemicals to migrate into them. Where possible, we can also support retailers that practice sustainability and allow us to bring our own bags, bottles, or jars. If you're from Melbourne, like me, I highly recommend South Melbourne Market, where many traders are happy to fill your own containers with everything from legumes and oats to nut butters, oils, and even laundry or hand washing liquids. Bakeries are another great option for buying fresh bread using your own reusable bread bag. Once you become so aware of how widespread plastics and microplastics have become, it is difficult to unsee them. Plastic use is so normalized in our daily lives that using it has almost become muscle memory. I experienced this recently at a local bakery. I asked the trader if she could wrap my bread in something other than plastic, and she showed me a brown paper bag. Perfect. She then went away to slice the bread, came back and handed it to me in a plastic bag. I remember looking at the bag and thinking, what did we just talk about? But that's exactly the point. We have used plastic for so long that sometimes we reach for it without even thinking. Changing that starts with awareness. And once you've addressed the highest priorities, everything else can happen gradually over time. Eliminating our exposure to plastic is practically impossible. After all, microplastics are already present in indoor and outdoor air, dust, food, soil, and water, and can enter our bodies through ingestion and inhalation. It's not just about owning zero plastic objects. It is also important to be clear about what a plastic detox can and cannot do. Despite what some websites or social media influencers may claim, there is currently no scientifically proven detox, supplement, or juice cleanse that can remove microplastics from the human body. The encouraging news is that, according to current research, most microplastics we ingest are naturally excreted without being absorbed. Smaller particles, however, may enter the bloodstream or tissues, which is one of the reasons scientists continue to investigate their potential health effects. So rather than searching for a miracle detox, perhaps the most powerful form of detox is not trying to remove what has already entered the body, but thoughtfully reducing unnecessary exposure moving forward. Every thoughtful choice we make today is one less source of exposure tomorrow. Throughout this video, we've seen that plastic has brought enormous benefits to modern society. The challenge is not that plastic exists, but that our dependence on it has grown far beyond what our planet was ever designed to absorb. Despite the scale of the problem, I remain hopeful. History has shown that when enough people become aware of an issue, meaningful change becomes possible. Science continues to advance, industries innovate, governments respond, and each of us has the opportunity to make more thoughtful choices. Perhaps the deeper question is not simply, has science already proven every possible harm? Perhaps the deeper question is, what kind of world do I want to help create? As we become more conscious, more spiritually aware, and more deeply connected with ourselves, many of us develop a quieter sense of discernment. We begin to notice what feels aligned with health, vitality, and harmony, and what does not. For me, science and intuition do not have to compete with one another. Science helps us understand the world through careful observation and evidence. Intuition invites us to listen more deeply to the wisdom within. Sometimes science leads the way. Sometimes our intuition encourages us to ask important questions long before science has all the answers. Used together, they can inspire us to make thoughtful choices without fear, without guilt, and without waiting for absolute certainty. If my heart tells me to care more gently for my body, to reduce unnecessary plastic where I can, and to tread more lightly on this beautiful earth, then that feels like a wise choice, regardless of whether every scientific question has already been answered. Sometimes living consciously means honoring both the best scientific evidence we have today and the inner wisdom that continues to unfold within us. If this message spoke to your heart, I hope it encourages you to care more consciously for your body, reduce unnecessary plastic where you can, and become a more loving steward of our beautiful planet. Together, we raise the frequency of Earth. Every time one more person chooses to live more consciously and leave the world a little better than they found it. See you in the next video, where we'll take another step toward health, balance, and higher vibration.